And you might have noticed that we have a very inspiring centerpiece to set the mood. Now, last week, I shared with you some of Hitchcock's special effects magic. Since seeing that movie, I've had a different appreciation for chocolate syrup, which was the prop they used for blood in Psycho. So let's find out more about the infamous movie director, Alfred Hitchcock. Over to you, Sarah.
Hey, morning. Yeah, so I'm sure obviously many of you probably know this artist. Sir Alfred Joseph Hitchcock was an English film director and producer. He's widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in the history of cinema. His career spanning 6 decades, he directed over 50 feature films, many of which are still widely watched and studied today.
I'll do it.
Known as the master of suspense, he became as well known as any of his actors thanks to his many interviews, his cameo roles in most of his films, and his hosting and producing the television anthology Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Today, we'll look at some of his famous films and the movie posters that went along with them. Starting off with Saboteur, made in 1942, Hitchcock was already an established and popular director. In the film, Robert Cummings played a patriotic factory worker framed for murder and sabotage, and Priscilla Lane played the trusting woman who aids and abets his cross-country flight. The film has its share of exciting moments, including a charity ball where the couple is trapped in a crowd, and the climax of the film takes place on top of the Statue of Liberty. There are plenty of thrills, and the poster is correspondingly larger than life. Quite literally, the titular antagonist is a massive shadow overlooking fiery destruction. Shadow of a Doubt was a darker and more psychologically complex film. Hitchcock worked out the script with writer Thornton Wilder. Joseph Cotton gave one of the most noted performances as the charming, utterly psychopathic Uncle Charlie, who drops in to visit his relatives in quiet Santa Rosa after murdering a woman. Teresa Wright played his devoted niece, also named Charlie, who fights against her growing realization that her beloved uncle is a misogynistic serial killer of whom the entire country is terrified. Even regarded by Hitchcock himself as a favorite, this milestone film is brimming with complicated themes about conformity, wealth, and family. The poster itself is seemingly ripped open. Inside, the cast struggles in the light of warm reds, all except one man who joins the oppressive blues that surround them. The moody image questions who the audience should trust, which very much reflects the atmosphere and themes of the film. Dial M for Murder was much more commercial of a film. It was originally shot in 3D. The film is an adaptation of a Frederick Knott play that maintained the boundaries of a London apartment presented on stage. Grace Kelly starred as the straying rich wife whose jealous husband tries to have her killed and then attempts to frame her for stabbing her would-be assassin in self-defense. On the poster is the pinnacle scene of the attack, which informs the entire second half of the film. The Trouble with Harry was a dark comedy, kind of in a different vein than Hitchcock's usual films. It was about a Vermont town's problems with a corpse that just will not stay buried. The Trouble with Harry, it's all macabre, conceptual laughter, contrasted by this colorful setting. And the poster also uses this visual tactic to clearly represent the premise, a joke in itself where you have a passionate kiss in one corner, and then you can also see an old man dragging a dead body. North by Northwest is a romantic thriller where Cary Grant is an exemplary Hitchcock protagonist, New York ad man Roger Thornhill, who's mistaken for George Kaplan, a government agent who has become the target of a very persistent group of international spies. The poster is rather minimalist and less indicative of the vibrant film ahead. However, it cleverly toys with the audience's expectations. The layered boxes imply multiple levels of deceit, and their edges are clearly uneven. Considered by many to be his masterpiece, Vertigo was a challenging, sometimes obscure and painful exploration of identity, fantasy, and compulsion. James Stewart stars as Scotty, a former San Francisco policeman who has taken early retirement because of his fear of heights. A rich friend of his asks him to shadow his wife, Madeline, who has been prone to taking mysterious leaves of absence. But Scotty's detecting soon morphs into a kind of voyeurism, and his observation of Madeline turns into love, and then obsession, and finally agony. The poster literally represents the sensation of vertigo, and the central figures bear his trademark crookedness. Possibly one of the most definitive images in all of cinema, let alone horror. The mysterious plot of The Birds centers around aggressive bird attacks, and it's blatantly displayed on the poster. A horrifying and brilliant concept. The mere premise is so robust that it requires very little to sell, but Hitchcock's film scaled up the source material and established engaging new characters in a fresh setting. The bird attacks coincide with emotionally resonant themes about psychologically caged people, and the protagonists are terrorized by their faults as much as the shadowy crows. Hitchcock made Family Plot in 1976, and it was his swan song. It was his last film. Script by Ernest Lehman, and in the comic vein kind of The Trouble with Harry, Family Plot followed a colorful, rather endearing collection of psychic frauds and jewel thieves. Finally, we have to end on his iconic film Psycho from 1960. The film was unusual in every way. Firstly, it deliberately utilized black and white for kind of a gothic feel, immediately following Hitchcock's most colorful escapist film yet, which was North by Northwest. So there's kind of this juxtaposition between the two. And few would have expected anything gray anymore. Secondly, it was structurally bizarre with apparently two separate storylines. The first half is about stealing thousands of dollars, and the latter mainly focuses and follows a serial killer. But both films succeed, tied together by the famous shower murder. Hitchcock's greatest gift was his mastery of the technical means to build and maintain suspense. To this end, he used innovative camera viewpoints and movements, elaborate editing techniques, and effective soundtrack music. His films garnered 46 Academy Award nominations, including 6 wins, though he never won for Best Director despite 5 nominations. Some of his honors received are the Irving G. Thalberg Award from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute, and also Hitchcock was knighted in 1980. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, Sarah. You know, I love Hitchcock, and as you might guess, my favorite movie is Psycho. In its time, the approach to special effects made the movie appear real. In fact, it scared the bejesus out of me when the first time I saw it.